Hey everyone, Myhappy here, and this video is going to be kind of a weird one because it's going to be addressing something on my channel that I feel very personally to something that's been happening in Final Fantasy XIV, both this expansion for myself as a content creator and just what I'm seeing in the Party Finder and the general reception by the player base. So as you guys know, for the longest time I've been creating guides for content, EX primals, savage fights, all sorts of things, and as time has gone on, the number of those guides that are actually released has diminished more and more by every expansion, from doing every fight very quickly back in A Realm Reborn, to missing out on a few fights here or there for Heaven's Word, especially with Gordius and Midas, to now like picking and choosing which fights I even release guides for. Like I barely did anything for Deltascape and then Sigmascape. Like I don't know, I've like bounced around them. And that's come from a variety of factors. So I wanted to take this video to address that. Alright, for one, I definitely enjoyed making guides more back in the day. I guess I was just thinking less about how people would critique them or, you know, what the mistakes were back then. And everyone just said, yo, when's the next guide coming out? When's the next guide coming out? When's the next guide coming out? And all I was thinking of how quickly I was going to get that next guide out. Now, over the years, I've, of course, looked at comments, taken feedback, and, you know, seen numerous discussions about the different strategies that are released by different guide makers. And so to take some of that in the feedback, going into Stormblood, it's just a matter of how I felt. I didn't really think too much about whether or not I was going to release a guide for a specific fight. But now in Shadowbringers, at the beginning of Shadowbringers, I actually decided that I was going to do something significantly different. One of the greatest pieces of feedback I've received over the years as a guide maker is that rushing out a video week one is irresponsible to specifically people who are trying to strictly copy the strategies that are in guides and put them into the Party Finder. So in Shadowbringers, I actually made a note to try and wait an extra week or two to see how strategies evolve, because if I can include better strategies and better footage in the guides, then that would be more valuable to the Party Finder as a whole. However, I've started, as I'm working on, because I know they're not out yet, but I have actually been working on all of my Savage guides ever since the day I cleared Shiva that Friday. I have been compiling footage, I have been asking people for their POVs, I've been checking Twitch clips to see if people have new strategies, trying out new things on the second week to get new footage. All these things I've been doing this entire time, and it takes up video making time for anything else I want to make for the channel, like Versus. And I realized something just now as I was finishing recording my E5 Savage. I just finished the audio after barely having a voice all week, in that it is miserable to make guides this way. It is absolutely horrendous to try and make guides this way. Because more so than ever, it feels like nobody wants to just adjust to other strategies. No one wants to learn anything new. I remember why I did a lot of week one guide videos. It's because people want that information and lock it in on the first week. So that's the information people are paying the most attention to. People don't actively search for new information unless they're trying the fight for the first time later down the road. Now, it's not to say that doesn't mean the guide's any less valuable, because if a guide is good, it circulates and it gets to a bunch of extra people. But man, does it suck to make a guide based on a bunch of strategies that I didn't even remotely come up with, that I've seen other people do, that I've replicated on future weeks. It is way less fun and way less exciting as a content creator to do it that way. I actually much prefer providing a commentary on week one strategies as opposed to doing guide making under these pretenses. It's just such a weird thing. I've never seen before this expansion so much, I guess, division in the way people approach mechanics. It started with Titania with the north-south thing. I made a video on that. We made guides for all that. We made guides for all of the first raid tier. But it's just, this patch has been insane with the amount of discussion with Ruby weapon, rotate or no rotate, versus static positions in the second phase, versus moving the bosses a little bit, to stacking south, to stacking north, to people putting placed markers, to always 8 being in the same location, to then you go into Savage and you've got triangle strat, square strat, donut strat, you've got people placing intercardinals at the walls, people getting mad if you don't place them at melee range, people getting mad if you don't place them at the wall because it's extra safe. You've got people who are doing boss relative for the frickin' storm clouds. For Furies 14, you've got people doing north relative, and nobody agrees on any of this crap. Hell, I was looking at an E6 Savage Party Finder, tank healer north, DPS south, for the tethers that need to be split 4 ways is what I saw as the standard, but there's one party finder leader who just said, I'm doing it the other way. I'm going to do tank healer south, DPS north. I'm like, why can't people agree on anything? And more so, even if we don't, why can't people just adjust to what the party finder wants? Some people just fall back on, no, we should just do it the other way instead of trying to improve or do anything different. Oh. And that's been the headache I've been dealing with for the last couple of weeks while I've been working on Savage, guys. It's just a horrible time unless I want to put out those same old week 1 strats that nobody should realistically be replicating after the first week. And people don't understand that because they see it, they lock it in, and that's it. Oh, man. I guess maybe now that I'm not providing that service as much as I used to, that I notice it a lot more. Oh, man, it doesn't even end there. And it's not with every fight. E7 is pretty consistent. You know, it's just a matter of identifying tricks to help people. E8, light rampant. That's going to be fun to put in a guide because nobody agrees with that strat. Some people hate the strats that are standard. Some people want to make new strats. Some people are trying to release new strats on Reddit or in text guides. Oh. So I'm here to tell you I'm working on the Savage guides right now, and that they're probably going to be a bit longer, and that after this raid tier, I will go back to be releasing week 1 commentaries on the fights, and maybe even just week by week commentaries. Because I feel like watching strategies evolve may be more valuable than just releasing a guide and saying this is the way to do it. It's probably going to do way worse on viewership, but man, as someone who just wants to see people win, but at the same time also wants to see people improve, I gotta figure out a solution for it, because this emotion was driving me crazy as I was working on that E5 Savage guide. So here's what I ask you. If you're someone who's playing Final Fantasy XIV, you use the party finder, you have a static, you're trying to determine strategies for the fight. Here are a couple pieces of advice. 1, be flexible. There's always more than one way to approach something. Even when something looks super rigid, there's always something somebody could be doing a little bit better. There's always something that may be better for specific roles or specific jobs. And don't be surprised when people ask you to make adjustments for those type of things. It could be, instead of saying the ranged move for a mechanic, you have a black mage who would be way better for your party just being static, instead of trying to do a bunch of micro movements to position a bunch of stuff. Maybe make the healer make a couple, or maybe make the melee do a couple without losing any uptime. Look for little adjustments like that and be flexible. If you join a party and the party finder leader wants to do it a certain way, I get it. It's super frustrating that there's a million different ways, and it's why the party finder, I feel like this raid tier is more a disaster than it's ever been. It's just the sheer number of strategies that people are trying to employ for all the different fights, except for, again, I think E7 is pretty consistent what people are doing. And finally, just win. No, if you are screwing something up, just focus on winning. Stay alive and win. I don't really know how else to describe it. Because, man, has being a guide creator never been less fun than with the way things are now, or with the way I'm attempting to approach things now. So if you're frustrated at the party finder, as frustrated as I am at the sheer divergence of strats, or not even the divergence of strats, the unwillingness to adjust to the party that you've joined, just throw a comment section. Or even if you don't think this and you just want to tell me I'm a fucking idiot, just put it in the comment section of the video below. On that note, I might just take a break from this E5 Savage guide that I've already recorded out. I've got all the footage, I've got all the perspectives, a tank perspective, a healer perspective, DPS perspective, range DPS perspective, and just work on something else. Something that doesn't make my heart go every 2 seconds. I guess that's called living. Anyway, thanks for listening to my rant for a little bit. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, take care.